So, yeah, I think we're ready to start. I'll do the intro, Ment, and let's go into the interview. 네, 안녕하세요, 블록미디어 시청자 여러분. 최근 여러 가지 이슈로 시장 변동성이 굉장히 심한데요. 이런 시장 속에서 암호화폐 전문가의 의견을 듣기 위해서 마일스트롬 펀드의 대표 투자자 아서 헤이즈를 모시고 인터뷰를 진행해 보겠습니다. So, hello, Arthur. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Could you say hello to the Korean investors?
Hi, guys. Hope you're having fun.
So let's go right into the interview. So how do you see the crypto market evolving into 2025 and massive macroeconomic shifts like widespread money printing and the change into Trump government? And given your early prediction that Bitcoin would go to 70K amid a mini financial crisis and then rebound to 250K by year end, do you still believe in this prediction?
I do. I think that the liquidity profile, the fiat liquidity profile globally is slowing down. Obviously, in the United States, there's a debt ceiling. It's unclear what, if anything, the Treasury is going to do about that in regards to spending money to keep the government functioning or not. Trump is launching tariff after tariff, or at least threatening it, which is obviously dollar liquidity negative. And then the Federal Reserve is silently antagonistic to a Trump administration. And so on balance, I don't see a lot of money printing, at least in the short term, happening in the United States. If we move on to China, obviously China and Xi Jinping are in reactionary mode, trying to understand and figure out what's going to happen with their trading relationship with the United States. And as such, they're keeping a lot of bullets in the holster to make sure that they have the financial firepower to fight tariffs or any other economic disruptions that Trump or the United States throw in its way. And so therefore, I believe that's why they stopped the reflation exercise they started in September of last year. They have basically frozen the currency at the current levels. It's not weakening, it's not strengthening. And now we're in sort of a wait and see mode. But at the end of the day, there is not a massive amount of yuan credit or money being printed inside of China. And then the third major sort of fiat money printing place in the world, Japan, the BOJ, Bank of Japan, is in a tightening stance just out today, where wage negotiations in Japan, I think it came in around year on year up 5%, something in that range, which is extremely strong for Japan, given that the BOJ's policy rate is 0.5%. So they're massively behind the curve. They're too easy. And Ueda-san has been very clear that the BOJ is going to continue to raise rates. They're stopping quantitative easing and starting quantitative tightening, meaning reducing their balance sheet starting in the summer of this year. And I think we've reached sort of a low point in the yen versus dollar, and we're going to strengthen from here. So on balance, United States, China, Japan are all restricting the amount of credit that they're issuing in their domestic economies. And therefore, I don't think the fiat liquidity situation is positive right now to reignite the bull market in crypto. And as the global markets are addicted to this money printing, when you start to slow down the pace or even outright contract, things start to fall. And so that's why I think we're going to see some sort of TradFi mini financial crisis within the next 3 to 6 months. After that happens, then we know what the response is. The response is to print money, both in the United States, China, Japan, and other places around the world. Now, if we move over to crypto, it's a little bit tricky because obviously on Monday this week, I don't know when this is going to air, we had a massive shakeout. I mean, Bitcoin only went down from about 105,000 to 90,000. But if you take a look at the altcoin space, it was absolute mayhem. Some projects were down 50 to 75%. There are massive liquidations, lots of rumors about large traders and trading firms going out of business because they got liquidated. And so there is a possibility that crypto has already experienced its little blip on this bull market. Obviously not little for those who lost a lot of money, but I think that the altcoin liquidation cycle was very healthy. And I'm actually constructive on certain high quality projects that their prices are trading pre the levels that they were in November of last year before Trump got elected. And so at least on the altcoin space, Maelstrom is starting to deploy small amounts of capital into projects that we think are worthy. I still think that Bitcoin could trade down to 70, 75,000, but I'd have to reduce my confidence in that that prediction based on how brutal the liquidation cycle was for the altcoin space.
So you are seeing that after 3 or 6 months, the Bitcoin will dip into 70K and then go up to 250K by year end. So
yeah, so I think there's, I think we are still in sort of a range bound to lower price channel for Bitcoin. And I don't think that we're really going to exit that, retake the $110,000 all-time high and go higher into year end. My year end prediction is 250,000 until we get a resumption of money printing from the major economic blocks. And again, that's predicated on some mini crisis, which galvanizes support amongst the central banks and the treasury departments around the world and the politicians to print more money.
So as you mentioned about the tariff policies, how do you think the Trump administration's tariff policies will affect the cryptocurrency market in the near term?
It depends on how people view the dollar and risk assets. So I think Bitcoin is obviously very tied to the dollar and risk assets because we're very liquidity dependent. And so if you're increasing tariffs, which increases inflation, decreases trade around the world, the price of the dollar goes up, at least initially, and people reduce their exposure to financial risk assets because they're afraid about their underlying businesses. And so we get sort of a liquidity risk off situation. So I think, the easy answer is, yeah, crypto doesn't like tariffs. I think, again, at the end of the day, if Trump pushes so hard that the tariff thing breaks the stock market, S&P, NASDAQ down 30, 40%, something like that, some large financial player is in trouble, then we see a Federal Reserve run to the rescue, print the money, get on side with Trump, and then Trump can really go in, get into the economic policies that he wants to push forward, which at the end of the day all require printed money.
Okay, thank you. And what is your view on Ethereum's price trajectory this year, especially given its lag behind Bitcoin? And how do you assess the future aspects of the Ethereum and Solana networks in light of recent comparisons?
So, I mean, obviously, Ethereum has been the shittiest L1 of this cycle. It's performed quite poorly. People are very upset with the Ethereum Foundation for the large amounts of ETH that they're selling. They're not staking their ETH. There's not been very many sort of technical upgrades. It seems like there's some sort of political infighting. Who knows? All it is to say that the sentiment is very negative around Ethereum. Is this a buying opportunity? Possibly. We're long ETH. We haven't reduced any of our exposure. We're not adding any exposure in that respect. But I'd say, if you're going to make sort of investment in Solana versus ETH, Solana's gone from 7 to 300 essentially over the last 24 months, and ETH has basically been slightly up in this cycle. And so from a risk reward perspective and a narrative shift perspective, if I'm a new investor with new money in this space, I would probably buy Ethereum over Solana, I guess, because on a marginal basis, it's going to be harder for Solana to outperform expectations than Ethereum, where everyone thinks is a piece of shit and the foundation are idiots and the developers are doing nothing. It doesn't take a large amount of progress for that sentiment to change, and then you could see a nice run in ETH.
So you're predicting more bullish on ETH than so maybe in the new investors, maybe.
If you have new money into the space. Again, I'm not shifting any of our exposure, but if I had $1 and had to choose one, I would choose ETH right now.
Okay, so also, why do you think the market reacted so negatively to David Sachs' recent remarks on crypto regulations? How might these regulatory comments influence the development of stablecoins, particularly regarding the USDC?
I think that crypto investors globally are very smart, but very politically naive. So obviously, in my opinion, in the United States, single issue crypto voters turned out in large numbers and on balance are probably one of the major reasons why Trump and the Republican Party won the presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. Now, the problem with any sort of two-sided value transfer is the person who goes first and pays first obviously needs to wait for the other side to give them their value exchange. So the crypto people showed up and voted, got the politicians in power, and now they're waiting for the politicians to deliver on these promises. And the market was so giddy with the end of the Biden administration and the re-entrance of Trump that they thought that every single one of their demands would be met immediately. The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve would be enacted January 20th. The regulations would change and everyone could just do business in America. And what they're finding out is that politics in America, well, Trump is a different type of politician. He's still a politician. And therefore, is crypto the number one priority of the Republican Party? I don't think so. And so people are finally waking up to the fact that, okay, if a politician said they're going to study something, that doesn't mean that they actually want to do it immediately. When Trump wanted to tariff his largest trading partners, he did it in 2 days. When Trump wanted to remove environmental and diversity, equity, and inclusion policies in government agencies, he did it overnight. But all of a sudden now he's saying, or David Sachs is saying, oh, please wait 100 days or 80 days or whatever it is. We need to study this. People have been studying this for 15 years, and now you have to study things. So I think this is a delay tactic. It's also a signpost to me that the type of regulation that's going to come forward in the United States is going to be just like everything else, which is a multi-thousand-page bill, which every single large company lobbyist is going to have their opinion on and get their little piece of the pie. And at the end of the day, the end crypto investor who wants a decentralization, a level playing field for anyone to permissionlessly innovate in what is supposedly the most capitalistic and fair competitive market in the world is going to find out that to compete in America means you spend $2,000 an hour on lawyers and you still don't understand what the fuck is going on. And so I think as people start to realize that that is the politics as normal, that's what David Sachs is saying but not saying, then they're starting to say, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to get what I want in the next 15 minutes. Maybe it's going to take 2-4 years. And maybe if the next administration comes in, they're just going to change everything back because their lobbyists are going to gut the bill that the Trump administration put in. So I think that we're starting to give back sort of all this optimism that Trump is a different sort of politician. He might have different priorities, but he's still a politician and he still exists in the political milieu of America. And the way they do things previously is the way they're going to do things right now, which again is not positive for crypto if what you care about is decentralization. If you're a shareholder in Coinbase or BlackRock, maybe you're going to be very happy with this bill.
And some say that the market's liquidity is being fragmented by the surge in altcoins, numerous TGE events, and the issuance of meme coins. How do you view this trend, and could it be a factor in the subdued altcoin market?
I think that every cycle has its non-Bitcoin shitcoin. So we had ICOs in 2017. We had Ethereum, EVM, DeFi summer in 2020 and 2021, followed by Solana summer into the collapse of FTX. And everyone thought that, oh, we're just going to go back to trading the same sort of, layer one EVM DeFi application. That's what's going to succeed. So we have all these high FDV, low float projects come out. Most of them did terribly in the secondary market from what they launched at to the current price. But at the same time, we have a new non-Bitcoin shitcoin, which is meme coins. And so they've exploded. People have made lots of money trading these things. The most successful project of this cycle is Pumped Up Fun. Makes millions of dollars in fees for that protocol every single day. It's probably the highest earning protocol, bar none right now in this cycle. So I think people have to recognize that every cycle is different. The non-Bitcoin shitcoin changes. This time it's meme coins. And so if you're a DeFi project who's launched, you have to be that much better. Obviously, Athena has probably been the most successful DeFi project of this cycle. It is now the number 3 largest stablecoin, 6 billion in circulation, fastest to that level of any project ever. I think I was reading today something like a few $100 million of savings in the treasury to help support the peg and all these sorts of things. So quality project. And yet it still got smoked from what it listed at on the first day to where it trades currently, even though it's, a multi-billion-dollar FDV project. So That is to say that you have to be that much better in this cycle if you're not a meme coin, because the zeitgeist has shifted. We want meme coins. That's the shitty stuff we want to trade. It's pure attention. It's fun. It's FOMO. And so I think people just need to adjust their perspectives here.
So you mentioned about Athena. So could you tell more about what your thoughts on Athena, especially considering the recent drop in like USD yield 20% to becoming like about 10%, why this thing happens, aspects about Athena, and what factors do you believe contributed to this decline? Additionally, are there any altcoins except Athena that you are bullish on?
So very quickly, a lot of people equate Athena with Luna. Obviously, that's a very sore subject in the Korean markets, given how much the Korean market loved Do Kwon and this project. But they're completely different things. So Athena creates a synthetic US dollar by holding crypto, mostly it's Bitcoin and ETH, and shorting a perpetual swap against it. Versus Luna, which basically created a token out of thin air called Luna, and as its price went up, the peg became stronger with UST. As Luna's price went down, the peg became more shaky, and it entered a death spiral when the Luna price crashed. And everyone knows that's what history. So you have a synthetic dollar based on Bitcoin spot plus short perp, Athena, Luna, which is an algorithmic stable coin, which is complete made up shit. So they're completely different things. So now the Athena yield is basically based on what are speculators willing to pay to get leverage in the system on the long side. Because obviously, as we know, Bitcoin and Ethereum has been some of the best performing assets in human history. And so on balance, it pays to be long versus short as a speculator. So if I'm a long speculator, I want to take leverage and the price goes up, and I should pay for that because there's a limited amount of fiat dollars that are willing to sit on the exchange and allow you to do that. And so that's why this yield fluctuates. When crypto's in a bull market, the yield explodes, right? Because things are going up, 50, 60% every few days. And so as a long speculator, you're like, I'm willing to pay 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% per annum to get my exposure to the market. But on the way down, obviously everyone's selling. And so the derivatives are trading, at par, sometimes at a discount. And so that's why you see the yield contract. And so this is healthy. It's not like in Luna where the Anchor, the yield was 20% fixed, regardless of the market conditions, which makes no sense. Athena is a floating yield. If we're in a bull market, the yield's going to be higher. If we're in a bearish period like we're currently in, it's going to be lower. So the mechanism is working as planned. It's a variable yield. It depends on market conditions. The fact that it's changing means that they're doing things correctly. And obviously, as we saw, in the last few days, they had massive amounts of liquidations on the centralized exchanges in which they have positions. They weathered that fine. The peg held. It was within 10 basis points of USDT tether. So I think that Athena performed amazingly well. It's a validation of the hard work that they put into building a solid protocol. And it means that they're doing what they say they're doing, because if they weren't, then there would be real trouble.
So my last question, not my last question, but the question related to was, are there any altcoins that you view as particularly bullish, such as Athena or any other ones, maybe?
Yes. So as I said in my first little preamble, we're starting to acquire some solid projects. I don't want to say those yet because we're still buying them. So
Okay.
just know that we're in the market. We're buying quality shit coins. I'll definitely tell everybody once we're done buying them why we bought. And obviously, the prices could still go lower. I think, on balance, we could retest some of these liquidation lows of Monday of this week. However, I'm willing to buy down to those levels because I think they're extremely attractive. Again, because we're trading below the prices before Trump got elected.
Got it. So what is your perspective on the recent meme coin issuances by Trump and Melania? And how do you think that the trend of famous personalities launching meme coins and reckless meme coin speculation could dilute investment in more utility-based crypto projects?
So at the end of the day, I take not offense, but I think the premise of the question that there's better investing if you invest in utility, whatever that means. is better than investing in meme coins. 99% of crypto projects are complete dog shit. They're lying to you about the utility that they generate. It's just a way to get your money. And so I think at least meme coins are honest. This is pure speculation. There is no underlying value. And it's simpler to understand for a new trader. The Trump coin is a perfect example. I'm going to write an essay, fully going through this, my thesis on this. But the Trump coin is a validation of political meme coins. Obviously, there was a Trump meme coin before, the President Trump officially endorsed his own Trump meme coin. But what it says when, supposedly one of the most powerful politicians in the world says, I'm going to launch my own meme coin, you now have a way to have a 24/7 public opinion on his performance. Because why do you buy this political meme coin? Either A, you are a supporter and you want to be in the club, you want to support this person, or B, even if you don't like Trump, you think that other people will like Trump because of what he's going to do in the future. So you're trading on a future expectation of Trump's popularity of what he does. What you don't do is lie about your position, right? When somebody calls you on the phone and asks you, what do you think about this politician? Or did you vote for so-and-so? Most of the time, people are going to lie about it because they believe that if they say the wrong answer, whatever the wrong answer is in sort of the politically correct milieu of your particular domestic country, then you're going to get ostracized. So you're prone to lie about who you support. But if you're going to bet money on it, you're not doing this to lie to yourself. You want to make money. So again, either you support the politician or you believe that other people will support the politician in the future. So it's the best mechanism to get a real-time sentiment check on policies that a politician enacts, what they say, how they interact with people. And so by Trump putting this out there, I know he probably, dismisses it as something that his sons did and he wasn't really involved. But I bet you he looks at his phone every day at that Trump price, because every politician who's that successful is extremely narcissistic. And they want to know that what they're doing is viewed well by the people, even if you're a dictator. And now that you have this 24/7 market where anyone in the world with an internet connection can trade on your popularity, you are going to look at this all day, every day. And now we as a people have a mechanism to see, what does everyone else think about this politician who was supposedly popular, but they launched a coin and now it's down 95%. So I think this is a watershed moment where you're going to see probably in the next 1 or 2 years a few elections in democratic countries, where you're going to have an incumbent, maybe older politician who's going to do it the old way. TV ads, radio, maybe social media. And they have a lot of money. They raise a lot of money. And then you have the new guy or girl, and they say, I don't have any money, but I know how to use memes. I'm just going to launch my meme coin. I'm going to be in the community, be in the Discord, be on X, be on Instagram, be on TikTok, what have you, be a neighbor. And I'm going to talk to the people and I'm going to get them to invest in my coin. What's the best word of mouth mechanism? Me making money. I'm going to tell my friend, hey, I just bought that coin of this politician. I think he's going to disrupt the new order. You should buy it too. And so all of a sudden you've created this situation where an incumbent is going to face a challenger who has no money, but is able to raise awareness in a more effective manner using a meme coin than spending billions of dollars on traditional media. Now, we haven't seen this yet, but once we see this, it's going to completely change global politics in that every single politician will have a meme coin. We'll be able to vote with our dollars and our crypto. Who do we like? Who do we not like? And all of a sudden, politicians are going to be instantly accountable to the people, whereas now they're instantly accountable to large corporate donors in their respective jurisdiction. So I think Trump, I don't know if it's intentional or not, I doubt it was intentional, has destroyed the economy of political donations. Because at the end of the day, why do you need to collect political donations at a candidate? You need to generate awareness in the traditional media channel. So all the billions that they raise, they're just spending it on print, TV, door-to-door, knocking on doors, social media, what have you, ads. And now I can get the same engagement by launching my own coin. And my followers who want to make money are going to tell their friends about all the good things I'm doing and will do in the future, because you want your friends to buy the coins where it goes up in price and you make money. So by capturing the greed of society, we're going to dismantle the power of large corporations to influence elections.
I think that's a quite fresh view. And with several projects like Bearchain, Moonot, Story, and Mega ETH preparing for mainnet launches and TGEs, Do you have any like preferences between these projects or not, or not really?
I don't have an investment in any of them. I think that they're probably going to launch at prices that are way too high. It's going to be very hard for them to scale into those valuations, given the market and given what I said before. People want to trade meme coins. Look at what Trump did. Trump meme coin went up to almost $100 billion in FDV. It sucked all the value out of every other meme coin in existence. What if, I don't know, Taylor Swift launches her own meme coin at the same time Monad and Bear Chain? Are you going to trade fucking Bear Chain or Taylor Swift? I'm trading Taylor Swift. Or Blackpink or BTS, or pick your global celebrity or music group or artist that can launch their own meme coin. And I would rather trade that than trade any other, Ethereum killer, Solana killer, L1 that's at, $10, $15 billion FDV at launch. How am I going to make money in that? This is just not, I'm not going to be able to make money in that.
I think that's true. Yeah. So, and how do you view the recent developments in Chinese AI, particularly the launch of DeepSeek? And what impact might this have on US AI markets or crypto markets, maybe?
I think that, and I've written about this very briefly, at the end of the day, is not whether or not the DeepSeek claims about the cost, the training costs are true. They just have to be in the right direction. Because at the end of the day, US tech trades at a very, very high multiple. You're expecting hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars of spend on data centers and chips, because these are the companies that create the best models, and therefore you have to use them. And nobody else can compete because the US is going to basically restrict anyone else's access to chips. So here comes this 200-person Chinese hedge fund bro and his team, who, with or without support from the Chinese government, we don't know. I don't think they had support, but again, it doesn't really matter. I've launched DeepSeek. Now, I know on the internet, people like to point fun at, DeepSeek is sort of taking a pro-Chinese government view on certain current events, but that doesn't matter unless you're, a history student. That's the only thing you're using AI for. Cool. But if you're trying to do OCR on your PDF or create some lines of code, does it really matter if you take a US centric or a Chinese centric view on world history? It doesn't matter. But if DeepSeek is $2 a month and OpenAI is $20 or $30 or $40 a month, or $200, I think you're on the pro subscription, I'm going to use a cheaper version. I get the same utility out of it. Okay, there are biases in the app. And so I think what we're realizing is that a country that's been shat on by the US, the sort of restrictions on the chips, has been able to create this model that's just as good as the ones in the West. And sort of this is a wake-up call to American exceptionalism. You don't have to believe that just because it comes out of America, it must be the best and will always be the best. There are other things that can do well too. And again, that doesn't mean that NVIDIA and OpenAI and Microsoft and these companies aren't going to make billions of dollars in AI. It just means I'm not going to pay 100 times PE for this thing. Maybe I'll pay 50 times PE or 30 times PE. The thing still drops 50%. And so I think that's really the story here. It's not whether or not DeepSeek is telling the truth about how much it makes, but even if it's in the order of magnitude of the level that they said, $5 or even $100 billion, it's still less than 500 billion, which is what Trump just announced with Stargate, build out of nuclear and all sorts of data centers. So again, it's all about the road of travel, and I think that's what this represents, is sort of the wake-up call that U.S. tech isn't that much better for the price you're paying for it, again, than something else. And so that gives confidence to people all around the world that, hey, I can do it too. Just because America is doing it doesn't mean I can't do it. And so you've just inspired a whole generation of people all around the world, not just in China, but everywhere around the world, that they can do it too. They don't have to bend the knee to the Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Sam Altman, church of tech.
Okay, so in your previous interview, you have referred to Ripple as a shitcoin, and Korean people had a lot of reactions about it, and yet it has recently experienced significant price increases. So why do you think Ripple is showing this price movement, and why do investors continue to buy it? Do you see it evolving into something similar to a meme coin, or do you think it really has a fundamental or something?
I think Ripple is the shittiest of shit coins. It does nothing. I don't know if, I mean, I can't say it will do nothing, but if history is a guide, it will do nothing as well. Does that mean it's going to go down in price? No, because what Ripple has been able to do, which is what I tell a lot of our founders, is that they made a lot of people very rich. So you entered the Ripple ecosystem in one level of income, and now you're at another level of wealth. And because you're able to buy it at such a cheap price back in the day, or even recently, people, oh, it went up in price. It must be good. No one really cares or even understands what Ripple's supposed to do. It's good marketing. Its number go up. They see the green candles on the chart and like, okay, I'll buy some more of that. They hear everyone else talking about it because the price went up. Okay, I'll buy some of that. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what it does. It's past that point because they've generated such a solid community of people who have upgraded their wealth in life because they were able to buy Ripple at a very, very cheap market cap back in the day. And that's all that matters. And so I think this is a lesson for all these founders out there who think that they need to have the highest FDV price at launch. No, you need to have a very low FDV price. You need to create wealth with your users at the same time so that you can have a rabid force on social media buying your stuff, even when you fuck up, which you will fuck up. And so that's, I think, the lesson of Ripple. I think it's a shit coin. That's my own opinion about it.
Thank you for your opinion. And so what indicators should investors monitor to gauge whether a major market correction is imminent, given the current macroeconomic uncertainties?
At the end of the day, we are in a liquidity cycle. Are the authorities printing money or not? Is the pace of credit creation accelerating or slowing down? That's all I really am looking for, because yes, there'll be a wave around that trend, but at the end of the day, if I have a view, okay, we're in a liquidity positive cycle, then there's certain things that'll do very, very well. If we're in a liquidity negative cycle, then maybe it's time for me to take profits. It doesn't necessarily mean that the thing's going to drop 50 or 75%. It just means it's going to be harder for me to make money if I don't have this tailwind of liquidity at my back.
And this will be the final question. So do you have any advice or anything to say to retail investors in Korea as they navigate the evolving landscape of macroeconomic uncertainty and regulatory changes in the global market and crypto market?
So I think that Korea is a very interesting place because, as I understand it, there might be a presidential election coming up soon due to the impeachment of the current sitting president. And obviously, Korea being such an important crypto hub in the world and having a high penetration amongst the young people in terms of ownership and sort of interest in the crypto markets, I think there's a great lesson that the Korean people can teach the world about political activism, about standing up for what you believe in, about holding truth to power in terms of, hey, if you want a pro-crypto president or pro-crypto legislature, you have this democratic country, highly internet connected, homogenous society who loves crypto. Why don't you put somebody in office who actually reflects those views instead of worrying about whether they're going to do this or that policy? Get your shit together, get off your ass, be active, and agitate for something that makes you guys wealthier, and show the rest of the world what can be done when we use the power of the internet and decentralized technology to bring about political change. So I think there's a very good story that the Korean people could teach the world in this upcoming period of political turbulence, because there's such a groundswell of support for crypto within Korea.
Thank you for your interview today with Blog Media, and enjoy your trip out of Hokkaido, and please update your opinions at your Twitter. We're always watching it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Arthur. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Cheers.